Towards the inside, then comes Sounds of Tigers. Still League of His Own, the leader. Towards the inside, Modern Royal. The inside of that, Storm Dancer, Sounds of Tigers, Dunkery on the outside. It's wide open now. Still League of His Own, Sounds of Tigers, Storm Dancer. Dunkery is also running on, and Modern Royal is still right there on the inside. Storm Dancer, Modern Royal, Sounds of Tigers on the outside. It's Storm Dancer hit the front from Modern Royal over the last 100. Storm Dancer just the leader, Modern Royal the outside, but Storm Dancer just won it from Modern Royal, Sounds of Tigers, then Dunkery or League of His Own.
Well, of the weekend, Storm Dancer certainly looked to be a standout. He was 3-1 and 33-10 on Interbet, which was far better than you could get with your local bookie. Well worth having an Interbet account, but more importantly, this horse gave chunks of weight around as a 3-year-old to some older horses over a mile and a half.
That's right, but it wasn't the strongest of fields, but I can't believe it started at that price. Yeah. I mean, it looked the best bet of the card. Even Chad Cook picked it out and went
Chad Cook?
So it must be very good if he picked it out.
No, well, yeah, but because I heard he was in the northern province or the northeastern province, or he was far away from where he should have been.
Oh, right, but I just heard.
So he probably couldn't have even studied, so that's why I picked it out. He saw computer form tipped at top, all the way, best rated, best handicap, best.
No, we're doing him disservice now. I think he knew what was going on.
He's always doing us a disservice. Anyway, let's move on. That was the Interbet best bet. And let's move on and have a look at what we got in current affairs. Well, we're very fortunate to have for current affairs Andrew with us, because there's been no racing to speak of except Cheltenham. Cheltenham was an unbelievable festival. There were some very good horses out there.
Some very good horses, and surprisingly, a lot of the favourites came in. So I think Dave Thistleton would be a bit grumpy because the last time he went there, I think he did his life.
I think the problem with Dave Thistleton was the fox hunters. They told me that he might have had a bet on that girl that the horse was in front going through with about 150 to run, and it decided to turn left. She had the stick in the right and she fell off and it ran nowhere. Yeah. I know that one of the racing operators had a nice bet on it too. Oh, well, okay. Each way bet. Wasn't very happy that it ran unplaced. But the Champion Hurdle, the Queen Mother Chase, Gold Cup, you know.
It's great racing, James. Yeah, and I've never been there, but I know people that have been there always yearn to go back. So,
well, when the young Thistleton decides to go again, go with him. He's got a lot of contacts. He seems to know all the right people. He knows the right pubs. Make a plan to go.
Definitely make a plan
to go. You should
go
as a Noch Schlepper. That's always a good idea.
Yeah. You used to train Noch Schlepper.
So I was called Noch Schlepper. The late Ricky Ginsberg called me his Noch Schlepper. I used to sort of schlep along behind him. Anyway, let's move on and chat about Parade magazine. It's to print and it will be out in...
James, we go to print this morning. As soon as I'm out of here, we'll put the final touches to it, and it should be out in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, we've got some really nice, interesting stories. Michael Clough has done a brilliant article on Elder de Meyer. Robin Lowe's summed up the Met for us, and she also went to Jogus Govinder's Ronderburg establishment before the Met, yeah, which was sort of an omen. Robin Ramsey's done a piece on Fred Rickaby, which is really, really interesting.
So, jam-packed with information, jam-packed with good articles, and how do people get hold of it, Andrew? That's a problem, because I know there used to be a thing where the RA members used to get it, but I don't think they do anymore.
No, they do. The RA pulled out for one edition, but we managed to get them back on board again. Larry Rainstein very kindly took them on again. So if you're an RA member, if you're a Gold Circle member, and if you're a member of the TBA, you get it as part of your package.
And if you're not a member, say that because we get a lot of calls and inquiries from people, how do you get these racing magazines? Does it go in the CNA or something?
It doesn't go in the CNA, James, because it's an expensive exercise. They charge an arm and a leg for you to get in and buy, and we run on a shoestring, so we make no profit out of it at all. We just try and cover our costs.
Where could they get it?
You can. We've got a subscription service.
Yeah.
I think it's 120, 130 rand a year for your 4 editions.
Cheap.
It is hell of a cheap, I think. At the
And
price.
who do they get hold of you, Andrew?
They get hold of me or Helen Watson. She's our subscriptions lady. And it's just email me at andrewh@goldcircle or helent@goldcircle.co.za, and we can organise a subscription for you. It's easy as that.
Absolutely fantastic. It is a wonderful magazine and well worth the read. And 4 times a year for that type of money, it's much cheaper than Playboy or Penthouse. But let's move on and have a look at what happened yesterday, because there was some excitement at Clearwood Racecourse. And Andrew and I will just have a look at it first. We're going to show the race, and then we'll get V. Moodley to give us his interpretation of what transpired and how these things can be alleviated in the future. Let's go and have a look at it.
Forward. They'll let that gates open as soon as possible so she doesn't play up. Goes forward, set, sprint, and there's going to be a false start here. That gate did not open on terms of My Sanctuary. Well, they are racing, but I just saw the gate was slow to begin. But it's Caribbean Bay, Warpath. You'll see a couple of the riders looking over their shoulders. So it's Caribbean Bay and Warpath. Bears Valley, My Sanctuary's a good couple of lengths off them as they come down towards the 500. So Warpath and Caribbean Bay, they're in front of Bears Valley, My Sanctuary, and then along came Polly and Right Kirani. But at the 400-meter marker in Warpath and Caribbean Bay, they're in front of Bears Valley, then My Sanctuary, and along came Polly as they come to the 300-meter marker. And there's actually a dog running on the track just behind the horses as well. But it's Warpath who has taken it up now as they get to the last 100 meters from Caribbean Bay. Down the inside along came Polly, then My Sanctuary. But everybody, please hold on to your tickets. We'll inform you exactly of what's happening. But Warpath won it. Along came Polly, My Sanctuary, Caribbean Bay, Bears Valley, Right Kirani.
Well, we're going to have a look at, here's a slow-mo of what actually happened. And you can clearly see the gate doesn't open. She actually forces the gate open, I think this filly does.
And also, I think because the gate didn't open, Alec actually swung onto the
Well, you can
filly
see certainly here, he
he's
looks
not
like he's
riding
just
there.
standing
Yes,
up on her.
Yes, and he looks to see to the starter.
To the starter to see what the story. Well, he was lucky to stay on because she did a fly jump out of there, pushing her way out the thing. Now you see, well, we're going to have this a couple of times, and you know, he certainly. And the other filly didn't even jump, and then he's now looking over. But this is the last one. Andrew, before this filly had turned over in the pens.
Yes.
And she really did look like she wasn't quite right. The horse turns over in the pens. I'm not sure it's fair to run the horse, you know.
That's a difficult call, James. I mean, you've got to balance. I suppose it's always in the back of people's minds, or the stipendiary students' minds, in the back of the veterinary surgeon's mind, is this is the 1 to 3 favourite. You know, what do we do? So if the horse, I watched it carefully when they were trotting, and she looked sound, but I mean, you're not there, so you can't really.
You don't know what type of head injury
No,
she might have had.
Right, yeah.
know.
And I see in the official Stipes report that came out this morning that she was bleeding from the nose,
Now,
but they still had to do a scope on her, so that it maybe just the bump, or she may have.
but
bled.
apparently there's no scope at the race course. So where do you do the scope, and how do you determine whether it is a epistaxis? I know Paul Lafferty, our co-presenter here, had a huge problem with this once. With that filly, I think she was a very, very good filly. She ended up winning the Southern Cross Plate. They warned her off for 3 months, and she had apparently bumped herself in the saddling box. She knocked her head. And they said, no, blood from the nose, time off.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think they used to have one, and I think it was stolen out of the van. Our poor friend, late friend Rob Gatley, and I don't think they had enough money to replace it.
Okay, well, the point is that the trouble has been, and what you do. Okay?
James, there's absolutely nothing you can do. I mean, the Stipes, their hands were tied. The rules are the rules.
And the rule is quite clear.
The rule's quite clear. If the horse runs, doesn't matter how it was impeded, if it runs into the places, it's declared a runner. I mean, it's like going to, I know there was a case in court the other day, a rapist only got 22 years, but the judge found, although the bloke had been drinking, he wasn't drunk. So, you know, those are the rules. So instead of getting life, he got 22. Yeah. So it's the same here.
Whatever happens, we really don't have much more to say about it. And I'm going to get V into your chair and let him talk about it, because he's now the betting operators representative, and he can tell us how it impacts the betting public and how they see it, and as far as the tab is concerned.
I'm sure it does. And I think in South Africa, it's not unique, but it's one of those things where the tote is quite strong. So those sort of rules always come into play. In England, the tote is bun and coke, so it's all bookmakers' money. They would just say, okay, non-runner, all money refunded. Yeah, the tote they don't even worry about. But yeah, this is a strong tote section.
Funny enough, even in England, you sometimes see these type of things happen where there's no refund, and the bookmakers off their own bat refund their punters. You know,
that's entirely. I mean, if you're a good operator, that's what you would do. Yeah, but in this case, I think. Poor old Sean Parker was on the Heinings and nothing, so I mean, you had to follow the rules.
Well, interesting you said that, because I chatted to Sean Parker for quite a long time this morning. He was going to come on, but there's no point in him actually coming on the show, because he is absolutely tied by the rules. He is the chief stipendiary steward, and the rule is there in black and white, and the rule says, I've got it here, so for anyone who didn't read it, okay, says, and the relevant rules, should the starter consider that through any faulty action of the starting gates or from any other cause a fair start has not been effected, the starter may declare a no start, which is a false start, okay? Should the starter not declare a no start, which he didn't do, the stipendiary board may, after hearing, declare any horse which was impeded at the start by the front gate not opening a non-runner, provided that a horse which is ultimately declared first, second, third, or fourth in the race by the judge shall not be declared a non-runner. He can't declare it a non-runner because it ran third.
No, his hands are tied by the rules. So he's like a judge in a court case. Doesn't matter how good your counsel argues. The rules are the rules. That's the law. So that's the way you operate. You have to stick to them. Until they change the laws, you can't do anything about it.
Well, V was part of the operation that changed the rule. Let's chat to him. Thank you, Andrew, very much for joining us.
Pleasure, James.
We'll have V on the show.
Good luck, V.